And what is the self? It hasn't changed. The self is in different frames of the creator, extending itself into itself of the creator. If you heard that, that's her bird flying in the room. Of the creator exploring itself, delighting in itself, observing itself, being observed by itself. It is an absolute level of, you can call it exploration, but a better word for it is expansion and magic. Let's use the word magic. So, what is the self? All right. All right, my friends, I have come to say hello. And I have an introduction, but I'm going to get straight to the question. The question is, what is the self? And in the context of an inner and outer world, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I want to start, my friends, by pointing out that it is so funny and basic. And when you stop and really ask yourself what it is that the self is, what it is that you are, it is so obvious. Yes, there are all sorts of names for it. And a lot of you distinguish between your self and your higher self, or your I am, or your source. And I say, and I have been saying for a long time, you can play at that game, sure, but there is just the self. There is just the creator. Now, within that, of course, there is, you can say different freeze frames, of course. She knows that word. You might not know that word. She being the human that I am speaking through. Many freeze frames. In other words, if you took the old-fashioned film or camera and you took many, either video or many photos, you could say that the film is the self in this little example. And within that film, you see different frames. Within all of the pictures, it used to be a strip of pictures, the film, and each one had a frame. And you could say that the creator, well, the creator is the camera, which casts and captures the image, say the model, the day that the model is in, anything that is a part of this experience that creates the photographic session, the scene, the images. It is the creator. Now, it is not unfair to say, therefore, that you are, we can say, a freeze frame. And within that, my friends, you can say, you are exploring that moment, what you would call in time. I'll go with that for now. You are that self. Now, it just is, isn't it? And frankly, because time is not frozen, you really modeled and moved, and within the film or the different frames, and they're really the same thing, you have different positions. You are sitting here, you're sitting there, you move, you smile, you don't smile, you look at the camera, you don't look at the camera, just like I'm doing now. And what is the self? It hasn't changed. The self is in different frames of the creator, extending itself into itself of the creator. If you heard that, that's her bird flying in the room. Of the creator exploring itself, delighting in itself, observing itself, being observed by itself. It is an absolute level of, you can call it exploration, but a better word for it is expansion and magic. Let's use the word magic. So, what is the self? You might say. They call me Zazoo. So you might say, Mr. Zazoo, you're telling me I'm a piece of film and film doesn't exist anymore. What do you mean? What I mean is that you actually are the pose that you choose to be, the experience that you choose to be. When it is that you are born, ironically, the baby knows what it is. It is existence. It is existence that has been put into existence, that is existing, that is experiencing, that is being adored, hopefully by the parents, being cared for. It is a multifaceted experience that is occurring. Now, the limiting thing that happens that is so curious, that counts as a photograph, that counts as a prop in your photograph, is that you start to get ideas, definitions, beliefs about what the self is. Well, the self is a person who is going to grow up, go to school, grow up, pick a career, do this, pay the taxes, do that. And there are all of these ideas. And it is like tunnel vision of what the self is. So you go from the baby that is a part of everything, experiencing, being shrunk down into this photograph, this experience of baby, but is still connected to everything, still recognizes itself as a part of everything, to a completely different perspective, good, bad, right, or wrong, but limiting, in which you are limited. You are this, and you are only able to do that. Now, this is changing. This is changing. You have those upon your earth who are saying things like, things are a little more fluid. You can change your contract with your soul. You can change your own limitations. Why not? Where did those limitations come from? They weren't in the photograph. They weren't in the film. You are that piece of source. And that is why you see yourself as having a God. And it's not accurate and it's not inaccurate. Why? Because you see, when you are outside of structure, a lot of people would say in non-dualism, there isn't right and wrong, there is. There is black and white and gray and many other colors that you see and don't see. In an unlimited universe, my friend, how do you define the self? You don't and you can't, because the self is undefinable. So instead, you experience you discover your first causality is to know thyself. It is very different and is very contrary to what you have been brought up to perceive. Just today in the car, this body, was saying to my friend, her husband, because she is writing novels and she just hears them and she just transcribes them. And they went dormant for a while. And she said, I wonder why they're back, because they are back. And he said to her, don't try to figure it out. You are using your mental thinking capacity. But if you go to the Library of Congress, there is no answer. There cannot be an answer, because you can catch a fish if you go fishing, but you cannot catch the ocean. He said to her, instead, come from the dreaming side of you, which is a term, an old Toltec term. It sort of means come from the universe, the stars, the ocean. If you want to understand what's in the ocean, be the ocean, because that's what you are. The film, the model, the camera, the one taking the picture, the one seeing the photograph, and everything in between. As a matter of fact, to see everything in between, you have an inner world, you have an outer world. And so the irony is, here it is, you are everything, you are the self, and it cannot be defined because it shifts and you change. And you do not know what it is that you are, that first causality. So you believe what you are told, which is generally what you are not, because even if it was what you are a baby when you are born. It changes, you change. So you cannot really be pinpointed, pegged, and put into a light box. That is for any of you that knows what a light box is. You cannot be trapped in a light box, a definition. So you have this inner world and this outer world. The inner world, you can call it that dreamer place where this body could go and be the ocean of her novels. Why this ocean of novels? But it is fluid. And it is some coming from parts of yourself you would call that are higher. I would say parts that you simply haven't chosen to connect with yet, because I am all about the oneness that you are, not necessarily a non-dualistic that you are, the oneness that you are, because I'm going to tell you that if you're listening to me, you're in duality. Otherwise, you would not be able to listen to what I'm saying. That's dualistic. It's got two sides to it. So you are, in fact, on a side if you are listening to me because you have ears. If you drop your body, we'll have a different conversation, and I won't insist on this. Now, so that inner world, that place where you can be the ocean because you are the ocean. You can be space. You can be the universe. You can be the stars. You can be the space between the stars. You can be larger than that if you focus there. If you focus there. And your outer world is that place of exploration called, what I call the experiential life system, where it is that you go to see a different side of yourself in the photograph. A place where you go to have a reflection back onto yourself as to your energy. Why? So that, like the creator, you can have an experience and see it as well. The trick is that you have an experience in the dualism of physicality, in the dimension of time-space, and yet your reflection is more clearly what you are, which is energy. So if you go to work and someone slaps you or insults you, are you these things? Literally, no. Energetically, absolutely. And when it is, my friends, that you see that you are, and that you can't complete that sentence, or you would have to complete it every now moment, because what you are truly changes that quickly. No, not so much that you're going to go today to work as a doctor, tomorrow as a janitor, the day after that as a politician. No. But notice some of you do that in the space of more time. You are fluid. Do you think that 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, people changed careers? This is a more fluid time wherein you are seeing more of yourself. Now, I know I am speaking to you a little bit in riddles, because it is that yourself is connected to your inner world and outer world. They are not what you are connected to them, and you are all, so they are what you are. And so it does come to be that your experiential life place, where you think, where you process, where you hear me and try to understand what I am saying, does have, my friends, this puzzle, enigmatic way about it that tends to be paradoxical, or have A equal to B, which is not equal to A, which goes back to B, because it's really AB. And so I am speaking to you in a little circuitous kind of way, but that is of benefit, because, again, what the self is cannot truly be answered, and it cannot be defined. Now, if you were to close your eyes, if you were to focus as if you were bed-bound, going to sleep, you would notice that when you close your eyes, it seems that your outer world ceases to exist. You could say that as you fall asleep, your inner world ceases to exist. And that's mostly true, because you won't necessarily be dreaming up your next vacation or any such thing. And you still exist. Tomorrow you can wake up and do yoga, or quit your job, or go out and eat dessert for breakfast. Do something totally different from any of these. You can wake up and do the same thing that you always do. This means that when you closed your eyes and you let go of everything I'll say that you are not, you found what it is that you are. And when you wake up again, you are still in the self. And by no one's definition are you locked into what that means. And the easiest way to illustrate that is by saying that in the morning, you can be a yogi. You can decide to go to medical school. You can go have dessert for breakfast. You can redefine yourself as you wish. And this is my examples on a very surface level. You can also go much deeper, which is, spoiler alert for you, a part of what is coming. There is an energy at play, I say to you, my friends, in which, as it is that turbulence shows up in your realm of time and space, as turbulence shows up in nature, in politics, in whatever forms, and it has as energy the ability to manifest in multiple forms. There will be upheaval, and you can kick and scream and be scared, or, my friends, you can take advantage of the energetic hiccup, of the energetic earthquake, whatever you want to call it. It is a time, my friends, for the self. It is a time, my friends, when you can go into the ocean and find yourself, redefine yourself. I could say it is a good time to also do things like people like to do, changing to a parallel dimension, that sort of thing. Meeting another version of yourself and getting help or giving help. You can go to a past version of yourself, a future version of yourself. You can always do it, but my point is, in this turbulence, it is easier, it is more fluid for you to do such things. It could be done 100 years ago, it could be done 1,000 years ago, but it was different and not as fluid and therefore not as easy, which means this is part of the time experience you have chosen to know yourself. And so those that truly have the intent to make movement in their lives will take advantage and know themselves, some more consciously than others, with greater awareness than others, or mindfulness, if you like. I say to you, my friend, don't bother measuring how good you are, because it's just the photograph and it disappears in the blink of an eye. Measure the ocean's waves, because they cannot be measured, can they? Sense the flow, the movement. As you do, you will find that it is essences, magnetism, sometimes polarities, and that within all of that, you start to find what yourself truly is. And in that sense, it is fluid and undefinable. Now, if you have any questions, you can put them in comments and they can get answered in the future, if it exists, my friends. It has been a great pleasure coming and playing in your oceans. Until next time, my friends.